Okay. All right. Well, looks like we have a nice full meeting. I'm Kate Meredith. I am the organizer for the Sonification World Chat and the SonNet project. And I'm glad to have everyone here today and a few extra people joining in. I'm going to add going to throw the link for the agenda one more time into the chat. And that'll overwhelm a few screen readers for a moment, but then we'll get back to business here. We do have a nice full agenda. I'm glad to see that we have a lot of people joining us today. And so I'm really excited. My goal for the meeting is we hope to connect some computer music departments and industrious students and smart professors with people with data who want to explore and have a really enjoyable semester. This would make me very happy and give me something to go on for my summer work and for looking for more money. We're all about, at this point, coming up on our last 6 months of the GeoSonnet project, making sure we figure out where we're going to get some more money. More on that later. So thanks for going in and signing up. We're going to do some quick introductions because we have a lot to talk about today. So we're going to start. I'm just going to go around my Zoom screen here. Matt, give us a quick introduction, and then I'm going to move across my screen.
Hi, I'm Matt Henry, and I'm currently with the Everett Group, who does surveys prior to working with Steve and his folks. I spent nearly 40 years as a professional musician, conductor, etc. So
Thanks, Matt.
happy to be
Zachary,
here.
Hello.
just give us an introduction. Let us know where you're from and what brought you here.
All right. So I am an undergrad in my senior year, my last semester of undergrad at Lycoming College. It's a small liberal arts college in central Pennsylvania. I study astrophysics and mathematics with a minor of Spanish. I have over a decade of playing music, both on the flute and cello. And I found about this actually through a recent meeting, the American Astronomical Society, where I ran into, I'm not sure if you guys know, but Jennifer, excuse me, Jennifer Seibin, which put me in contact with Kate here, and now I'm find myself interested in a lot of the things you guys are talking about. So I decided to attend the meeting today, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're thrilled. Jess, interrupt you and give you a quick introduction.
Hi,
Jess.
Kate, I'm multitasking. I'm Dr. Jess Stasik. I'm still saying doctor because I only just got it. That'll last for a while. I am the Director of Communications at the Frisch Center for Autism and Innovation. I'm also a research scientist in astrophysics. Both of these happen at Vanderbilt University. I am also the CEO of a nonprofit that works at the intersection of neurodiversity and space science. I myself am autistic, ADHD, and OCD, so I advocate in the space. And I guess I did a music degree at some point as well, actually, which I always forget to mention because no one else cares. Yeah, always here to just help the community and listen to some sounds.
Hey, thanks, Jess. Micah, who has been indispensable for the last 6 months. Micah, give us your intro.
Hi, I'm Micah. An undergraduate student at the University of Louisville, pursuing a degree in math, and I'm doing minors in both physics and computer science. I've been interested in piano as well as computer music for a little while, and I've just recently completed an internship at HarvestWorks in New York City doing computer music, and I did a data sonification project. I've been very interested in GLESS and in GeoSonnet project and in accessibility through data sonification.
Thanks, Micah. And I'm also scheming for Micah to find a great graduate school. So I think that's in his future. Anna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna. I'm a research assistant at Woodsole Oceanographic Institution with Amy Bauer, and we're interested in accessibility of data sonification and personal interests in music. I dabble in viola.
That's very good. So we'll go over to Amy.
There we go. Hello. I'm Amy Bauer, physical oceanographer, Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, where Anna is. I'm blind, and I've been working on various projects in data sonification for maybe 8 years now or so, including with one of our guests, John Bologna. And that's my focus is on data sonification as for accessibility purposes primarily. I also love music, but I'm not good at it.
According to the research, we're all good at listening to it. So that's the important part. Adrian.
I'm Adrian Provenzano. I'm a musician, a pianist, singer-songwriter, composer, otherwise, and educator. My interest lies in connecting the arts and humanities with STEM, and I do that through a variety of projects, including musical composition, historical portrayals, and education outreach projects. And I've also been involved with Sonification World Chat's Learn group and have learned a lot through that, and so I have that connection.
Thank you. Fia.
Hi, I'm Fia Damsma from Solar Kids Australia. So in the heat, I've got the air conditioning on. I am the director of Solar Kids Australia, who's a developer of educational software and apps for students who are blind or have low vision to learn STEM skills. And one of them that we developed is called Cosmoboli on Sonoplanet, an educational app to learn about sonification. And I've been an original member of Kate's Sonification World Chat since 2020 and was heavily involved with the Learn group that Adrian just referred to. And I do play the piano, but we use music and sound in all our apps to engage students rather than we also use images and animations, but sound is an essential part of our apps.
Thank you. Robert.
Howdy, I'm Robert Alexander. I have a PhD in design science from the University of Michigan, where I evaluated audification as a diagnostic tool for exploratory heliospheric data analysis. So that was with a fellowship with NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, where I just finished up a couple of years through a phaser appointment, working with a team there to use audification, which is a subset of sonification, to explore data from the Parker Solar Probe. I've also founded a venture-backed wellness company where we take data from the breath and turn it into sound. It's called Breathscape, and it's free. And also, more recently, from some private foundation funding, stood up an interface that evaluates volcanic data, near real-time volcanic data, and then presented at AGU this year on some features that people were able to find. Also took part in the GeoSonNet town hall down there. So it's nice to meet Kate in person and hang out. I've been kind of unofficially advising on GeoSonNet as well. So good to be here with everyone.
Unofficially, but I mean, we managed to get you to the AGU meeting, but yeah, many unpaid hours between Fia and Robert and many of the other people on this project, Adrian. So we really appreciate that. Hannah, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Hannah. I'm an assistant research professor at Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, which is part of Columbia University. I found my way here because I was at that AGU town hall, which was awesome. So thank you guys for putting that on. I'm a marine geophysicist mostly. I study plate tectonics and volcanoes and earthquakes and those sorts of things. I'm also a musician in the amateur sense. I play fiddle, I play carillon if someone will let me near one. I sing in a couple choirs, so I love that in my life, and I'd like to sort of see if I can make those two things meet. I'm also sort of interested in, I guess, sound as a mode of discovery in the kind of data that I work with. I think there's some really cool things that could be done with that, and maybe already have been done, but I'm new to this world, so looking forward to learning more about it.
We are very glad to have you. And Danny.
Hi there. I'm Danny Jones. I'm on the research faculty at the University of Michigan, specifically at the Cooperative Institute for Great Lakes Research. And I came to this field via oceanography, as in the Great Lakes research via oceanography. It's kind of my extraction. And I'm here. It took me a whole year to get here, but I'm here because I met Robert at AGU 25. Hey, Robert. And no, AGU 24, excuse me, AGU 24. And I've been getting the emails ever since, and today was the first day that I'm like, hey, I can do it. I can join today. So I'm glad to be here. I've got just broad interest in this space. I'm an amateur musician, emphasis on amateur, big time, but I have a lot of fun with it and I really enjoy it. And I think it would be really cool to bring together these two worlds. So I've played around with it just a tiny little bit, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about this world from you all. So glad to be here.
We are very glad to have you. Cheryl.
Hi, everyone. Oops. My name is Cheryl Fogelhatch. I'm an accessibility researcher and consultant working with museums. My company's Museum Senses. My big news is I'm under contract with Routledge to write a book called Designing Tactile Media for Museum Professionals. My manuscript is due July 2027, and I'm hoping it will be out the following year.
Wow. We are giving you a big round of applause. There are many applauses coming. Lots of hand clapping and hearts coming up the screen for you, Cheryl. So we're all behind you. And if anyone's seen, is it Common Senses is your blog? Cheryl sends out a lot of really great information about accessibility and the work that she's done. And we really appreciate having her voice on this, as part of this community. So I want to say hello to Brian from Miami. Okay. Maybe you're as warm as they are in Australia.
A little gloomy today, actually, strangely for January. But yeah, I'm a first timer here. I'm a professor at University of Miami in atmospheric science. I do atmospheric dynamics and weather, so that's a lot of information. And I guess kind of as a late career fetish here, I'm commissioning from a real DAW wizard I know, an old high school friend, the musical part of a kind of a 30-minute multimedia thing here, and he just knows how to take so I made the video data, and he knows how to take that data into wave tables and piano rolls, and the way the wave table becomes a piano roll and you speed it up and all this stuff. So it's all a bit psychedelic and synesthetic, and we haven't exactly finished it yet. But I just wondered what's going on here in the probably more straight arrow, depict the data community here. I'm trying to, swirl up some like appreciation of a rich thing that's, beyond getting an unambiguous signal through to people or anything. Anyway, that's why I'm interested, and that's why I came. Thank you.
Well, we are very glad to have you, and at some point, maybe you can present your work here as well. And next up is Gary. Glad to have you here.
Morning, Kate. Morning, everyone. That's morning for me. I'm sorry. Back in Japan at the moment. My name is Gary Foran. I'm a blind astrophysicist. My current position is adjunct research fellow at Swinburne University in Melbourne, Australia. I've been involved in sonification for, counting the years this morning, yes, 10 years this year, at various levels of activity, developing sonification tools for my own work, and for basically sonifying astrophysical data for research applications. Good to be with you again.
Thanks, Gary. Christina, good to see you again.
Hey, likewise. Hi, Christina Collins, research scientist, Space Science Institute. I've done a little bit of sonification work with looking at magnetometer data, and I have some peripheral involvement with the HARP project. Right now I'm getting things ready to go to Anaheim, California next week to the NAMM show to sell these 3D printed stringed instruments for those who fiddle in the group here. And also, because I have a 3D printer, if anybody needs any tactile media, I know there's some interest in that in this group. Here's a little model of Southern California that I'm holding up. So if you need anything 3D printed, send me a note. We have a lot of printers and they're not always busy. So if it's FDM, I can help you out, especially if it's a large piece. I wanted to drop in because one of the things we're going to be doing at the NAMM show, and I'll drop a link in the chat here, is Robert and Mike Hartinger of HARP and I, and another person that I've not yet met, are going to be doing a panel discussion about the intersection of sonification as a scientific practice and sort of sound engineering. And so if anybody happens to be in the LA area next week, I wanted to make sure that that's on people's radar. And especially, we probably still have room for another speaker. So if that's something that interests you, please drop me a link and I'd love to get in touch. Thank you very much.
That's excellent. And her information I see has already been dropped into the agenda. So that's there for you in case you're not accessing this chat as well. So Nicholas, introduce yourself. Okay.
Hello?
Oh, yes.
Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Hi. So, my name is Nicolas. I came from Chile, South America. So, yeah. I don't remember exactly when I come up to this group, but I just received the email, so I want to attend the meeting. I'm doing right now. I'm ending research on I do a PhD in neuroscience. I'm finishing it right now, so I've been using this technique, the sonification technique, to in some way to do a traduction of my electrical recordings of the neurons to sounds using mostly pure data and those softwares. So yeah, I'm interested in learning more about this technique and to get now the community around the world about this kind of art. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we will. This is definitely a good meeting to start off with. Isabel, glad that you could make it. Just introduced ourselves to each other a couple hours ago.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Hey, it's my turn to introduce myself. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes,
you.
please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Isabel. I work at an astronomy lab at Caltech called IPAC, IPAC. I'm the head science writer, communications person for our lab. We're also going to be working with Roman Space Telescope coming up. And a lot of my colleagues are interested in producing sonifications with Roman data, among other projects. So I'm excited to be here and listen in.
Thank you. Thanks for getting here today. Emily.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So I'm an undergrad student at Boise State. And I recently had a meeting with Dr. Nichols, and he sent me the link and invited me to join and listen in. I'm working on a sonification project. My major is biology and music, and I wanted to combine those two things into a unique piece of scientific art. So I was really interested in listening to what you guys have to say today.
Thank you. Okay, Cynthia, you're up next.
Hello, I'm Cynthia. Well, you can call me Cindy. Everybody calls me Cindy. I'm a research scientist at the University of Arizona for the Arizona Remote Sensing Center. I specialize in landscape ecology and remote sensing. So I'm interested in using a lot of remote sensing products like hyperspectral imagery to create music in landscape scales and in different environmental studies. I am working with the Fine Arts Department at the U of A as well to try to bring in, kind of integrate the School of Natural Resources and bring in some sonification with our work.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here today. Molly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Molly James. I'm a PhD student at the University of Connecticut. I also got on the listserv through, I think, another listserv, and wasn't able to go to AGU, but I'm excited for today's meeting. I'm involved in a music and oceanography project called Harmony of Nature with myself, a professional pianist in South Korea, and a composer based in New York City. And we've done sonification and musification of different oceanographic and environmental data. So I'm excited to learn more about, again, this space and see what other people are up to. Thanks.
Okay, by the time we're done with this GeoSonnet, I will not need to plan another one, but for the next few months, we have a lot of lineups here. Expect emails. Well, we lost Josie, but gained Jamie. So Jamie, go ahead and introduce yourself. We're glad that you could make it. We know it's late in the UK.
Yep. Hi. Sorry, and I might not be here for too long. But hi everybody. What am I doing? I'm just introducing myself. I'm Jamie Pereira. I had a really lovely chat with Kate before because I really liked the way that she was creating space and just a general approach and enthusiasm for sonification. So I decided to introduce myself. I'm a sound artist and a composer, and I've been sonifying stuff since about 2015. And it includes, I don't know, art institutions, and then collaborations that are academic, and then some that are, I'm not too sure whether it's academic or commercial, but with organizations like the European Space Agency. So I feel like I really like and I'm very deep into sonification, and I'm interested in encouraging conversation and investigation and exploration into its I don't know, core materials. Yeah, so lovely to be here.
Thank you. Well, that was a bit more time than we usually spend on introductions, but that is the most important part, I think, of this community is becoming a community and making sure that even though some of us had said our spiel many times, that we get a chance to hear each other's voices and be reminded of all the possible connections that you can make. I want to move as quickly as I can to our two speakers today, because this is where we're going to really try and make some connections today. But there's some very important things that the community needs to be aware of. As part of our requirements for our National Science Foundation funding, we do need to get a survey completed. The more people who are part of that survey, the more I can boast and the more that we can look for more money. And Matt, if you're still here, would you mind, if you could go to the agenda and throw in the link to the survey, but most of you should have gotten a link to that survey through the Sonification World Chat website email list. If you do not see that come through, because I'm not seeing Matt here on my.
I'm here.
Oh, you are here. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I will. I'll go find that and add that link into both the chat and the itinerary.
Okay, so even if you're here for just the first time, if you could just take a few minutes and answer what you can of that survey, we would really appreciate that. Anything else we need to say on that, Matt?
Just that, when you get a chance or if you have questions, feel free to reach out to the Everett group, and we will happy to answer if you have issues or technical issues, those kind of things.
Thank you so much. All right, so next up is
Kate, Bruce Walker joined.
Oh, yes. Bruce, go ahead and say hi.
Oh, hello. I'm not sure if you guys are just doing introductions, but I'm Bruce Walker from Georgia Tech. Been around the sonification world for a long time. Happy to see y'all. Sorry for being late.
No, it will take people as we get them. So we had our town hall at the AGU meeting the week before Christmas, which I will hope to never have to do again. But I did enjoy myself very much. The town hall was well received and I thought well done. Micah spoke and Robert contributed as well. I did an introduction. We had Leif Karlstrom and also Brandon Biggs there. So we gave some overview of what sonification is, what can be done, and then just had a lot of really great questions from the audience about sonification. Really felt very good about that. And both Micah and Robert did an excellent job of networking They have more extroversion between the two of them than I do, but so they did a really great job, and I'm happy to say that the emails are still rolling in from the AGU meeting. And I won't spend any more time on that. At the double ass meeting, I did do a sonification poster, and due to some family things that happened, my sonification poster took a little bit of a turn and ended up leaning very heavily on Fia's paper. And I got so many, my poster was extremely popular. I happened to have gotten the #1 spot in the town in the poster session, so I was right on the corner near the coffee, and I had so many people talk to me. I got to talk to them about Cosmobali and being able to lean on Fia's work. She's done some research and looked at how education can be our point of our leverage point for increasing the use of data sonifications and going at it from that aspect. It was very, very well received. I enjoyed that session very much, and would definitely support anyone doing a poster. It gives you a lot of time to talk one-on-one with people. So that link to that poster is in the agenda. And so community updates, Bruce has got some things in there. I'm not going to read those off, but please, Bruce, if you have anything else you want to say about those opportunities with ICAD and the conference in Turkey, please chime in right now.
The ICAD conference, as most of you know, is going to be is an annual conference, and it's going to be an interesting format this year. There's going to be 3 micro locations in Troy, New York, in Bielefeld, Germany, and in Barcelona. The idea is that you go to the physical location that's closest to you to save CO2 emissions. But if you want to go to Barcelona, go to Barcelona. And those 3 physical sites will be interlocked and interconnected. So there'll be physical locations, but also hybrid in an interesting way. And Thomas Herman is going to work his magic on this novel structure. But as usual, submit posters, submit papers, demos, workshops, all that good stuff. And then this other opportunity in Istanbul to reach out to a new audience seems very interested. They seem very interested in sonification, surprisingly not so aware yet. That's something we face all the time. So if you're interested, check those links out and reach out to me if you have any questions about any of the above.
Thanks. And if you do follow that link, you do have to scroll a bit to get down to theme 14, psychoacoustics and soundscape, but that is the one that that Bruce was alluding to in his, or mentioned in his post in the agenda. So are there any other announcements or things people would like to mention before we get on to the body of our mission today?
Someone do me a favor and throw the link to the agenda in the chat. I think since I joined late, I don't have that handy.
We can do that.
Thank you.
There was a question in the chat too about what organization Bruce was referring to. Maybe you could just repeat what ICAD stands for again, Bruce.
Oh, so there's 2, right? One is the International Conference on Auditory Display, which is one of the longest running conferences about sonification and using sound to convey data. And the other one is a organized structure at the acoustics meeting. So again, surprisingly, that organization has less familiarity with sonification and data display than we might have expected.
And it's one that I would really like to attend at some point, because I keep running into people who have done good work through there, and Micah's nodding, so we'll figure it out. All right. Thanks. Anybody else? All right, time to segue. So I want you all to take a deep breath. I want you to be thinking about your data, what data you have, what musical talents you have, and the opportunities that are going to be presented today through John and through Charles. And we're going to hear about what they're doing at their universities and see how we can connect. So first, I'm going to let each one of them have a little airtime to talk about what they're doing. And then we're going to throw out how we can keep their students happily busy this semester. So John, since you're top of my screen here, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Sounds good. So I'm John Bologna. I'm an assistant professor in music technology at the University of Oregon. So a little bit of my research is primarily focused on transforming data to sound. That includes building digital musical instruments to transform human performer movements and map that data into music. My work often deals with climate-related topics, which was why I love art and science collaborations, and as part of that work, developing data sonifications in auditory displays. The auditory display work that I've done has been part of multi-institutional team work on a few grant projects, one of which is called Accessible Oceans. That's an AISL NSF Pilots and Feasibility Study grant designing auditory displays to support perception and understanding of ocean data in informal learning environments, and that includes Dr. Amy Bauer at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, Dr. Jessica Roberts at Georgia Tech, Bruce Walker's institution, and Dr. Leslie Smith of Your Ocean Consulting. And Anna's been a huge help in that project as well. I'm happy to play some of those things, but I want to kind of just talk and then talk about the course and then go from there. Another project, an auditory display, is Georgia Sea Grant, also again with some of the same team members. The PI on that is Dr. Jessica Roberts at Georgia Tech and Dr. Leslie Smith of Ocean Consulting, along with some graduate students at Georgia Tech. The class I'm teaching is actually going to be, I'm on a quarter system, so it's spring term, which is actually April 1st to June. So it's like a 10-week sprint type of course. And it's kind of it's the second sonification course that we offer at the University of Oregon. It's a new course. It's going to be more of a sonification practicum. A little about the course is that students here, primarily undergraduate students, they're going to be focusing on project-based work over those 10 weeks using data sonification. So kind of taking the first 2 weeks to really spin them up on sonification. And then they're going to leverage sonification, an array of sonification tools, sound design software, in order to implement their projects over the remaining 7 weeks. I have, and that's kind of that data ask. Students, I primarily use Kima, and for those who don't necessarily know Kima, it's a hardware software environment for music, sound effects, and science research. It's been built and developed by Carla Scaletti, to me a heavy hitter in sonification work. But students will have options to leverage their own sonification tools. I have students that often will use things like MaxMSP or Pure Data. They'll use Python. Sometimes they'll even leverage their own DAWs, which is for those who don't know, might be like a Logic Pro X or for music. So we're going to cover sonification basic mappings, listen to audio as analysis tool to invite questions, and then accept kind of like a broad range of auditory explorations with respect to their work. So everything from audification, auditory displays, to even music using sonification methods. So it's going to kind of be a scattershot, really wanting to meet where students are at and their interests, but being able to have an opportunity to tie data into this course from multiple angles. So I'm currently on the hunt for data to bring to students to kind of, a lot of times students are like, what kind of data, like what can I use, where can I explore? And I think that's where this kind of match for them with their term projects. I'm really excited about having this kind of practicum course for these students and being able to have some real world and sink their teeth into some real world projects or some real world data, authentic data would be amazing.
Thank you. And that's what my real hope is out of today. And I'm so glad that we have, a record-breaking number of two panels on my Zoom to look at, because that's what we're looking at is can we make a match today? So thanks for that introduction. I think I'm going to have Charles introduce himself and talk about his work a bit, and then we'll go back and take a deeper dive into what these courses are doing and questions from you guys about maybe do you have something that these students can play with. So Charles, you're up next.
Thank you. And thank you, Micah, for finding me, and thank you, Kate, for inviting me. So very interesting to hear what you're doing, John, and I'd be interested to have our classes collaborate and communicate over this process. So I teach 2 computer music classes, one in the fall, which uses Max, and it's primarily for interactivity, and what we interact with is variable, so it changes each semester depending on what I'm interested or what becomes available to us. And then the second class, which is in the spring, coming up in 2 weeks, is in C Sound, and we start by developing synthesizers, learning about synthesis from opcodes, and then building our own synthesizers. And then they're to compose the second half of the semester is them composing a piece. So because I've been interested in data sonification, and Christina, I'm very interested to hear your presentation next week at NAMM, because we're also, so I teach at Virginia Tech. I'm professor of music composition and production at Virginia Tech. And one of the things that we're very interested in at Virginia Tech is spatial audio. So we have 24 channels in our classroom, and I guess we're up to 48 in our lab, and then we have a couple of other spatial audio spaces that can be used for performances or experiments. We have a couple of portable systems, and then we have the Cube, which is 140 speakers plus 6 subs, and 2 of the subs are double 15s, so you can really push a lot of air. So I've been interested in data sonification through projects through our Institute for Creativity, Arts, and Technology. The last one was sonifying the amino acid side chain sequence of the spike protein of the first human variant of the COVID virus. And I scored it for flute, clarinet, violin, and cello, plus recorded versions of those instruments in spatial audio, and used musical cryptograms to map the elements of the amino acid side chain sequences to notes, and then the position on the periodic table determined duration and articulation, and then the folding structure determined the overlap for counterpoint, and then the glycosylation determined pitch levels so that I could modulate through the piece. Previous to that, I was taking dancer joint position data and mapping that to synthesis and processing parameters in a series of 7 movements. And before that, I was sonifying traffic data we were responding to the traffic data with our instruments. I'm a violinist. And that was being pitch tracked to control the traffic signals so that we could hear the traffic and then respond to the traffic to make the traffic flow more harmonious. And all of these have just been ideas that other people had that I came on board as the composer and music technologist and coded up these systems. So I'm very interested to have my students do the same with your data and see what kind of music they can get out of your data. And I was talking to Emily yesterday about this, and she had a question of, well, how do you know if it's right? And that's a great question that I'd like to pose to all of us, is how do we know that the sonification is right? For me, it's a matter of maintaining the structure of the data and trying to make as clear as possible the original structure while making something that is interesting to listen to. And hopefully you don't have to compromise on either side. And that's all I have to say about that.
That was particularly well put.
Thank you.
As we have gone through and my evolution of this, I say that I'm the den mother of sonification because I actually don't have expertise in any of these fields. My expertise is in disability access, and that's where I'm coming to this project from, as an equity issue, and I'm very passionate about that. But this has, as we've come through all the definitions and where does this project stand, we are embracing of all those different approaches and purposes for sonification, but I personally want to see more effort and more work done in that. What you were just describing, Charles, is that translation and communication of the data structures in a way that people who are listening to the same thing can have a conversation and about it and agree on or disagree on a factual basis of how it's tied together. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. I will definitely be clipping that one for highlighting on our website. That's a good start. We have some information. What I'd like to start with is open it up to the group, asking questions about, do you have questions about their work in particular, anything you heard so far, or what their courses are like? So we can, let's start with those questions first so that we have a basis to move forward. And there was a question in the chat. Charles, are you going to NAM?
Yes, I'll be there. Is this from Christina?
Yes.
Sure is. Yeah, you want to be on our panel?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to look. But I'm very interested to hear your presentation for sure.
Sounds good. I'll send you a DM.
Okay.
Okay. The arm twisting can begin later. Sorry. If we could pass cookies and chocolate around, I think we'd really have something going here. First hand up was Amy. Go ahead.
Yeah, for Charles' question, the spatial audio studio setup that you have with like 24, 48 channels, is that distributed in 3 dimensions?
It is, yeah.
Ceiling, floor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if we start at the cube, which is the largest that we have, there are 10 speakers on the floor, and then there are 64 speakers in a ring at head height if you're standing on the first catwalk, and then 20, 20, and 20 on the ceiling in a ring of 14 plus 6 in the middle. And then in the classroom, the smallest one, it's 8, 8, and 8. And the 8 and they're all in rings. But the one in what we call the Perform Studio is, I can't even describe it because it's not regular. It's not as regularly distributed, which can be more interesting. But for instance, if you go to Birmingham, England, to the Beast Feast is what they call it, the Birmingham Electroacoustic Festival there, they have just a collection of all different kinds of speakers that they distribute around their space, which makes it even more interesting to build a piece for that concert. And there are tools so I generally use Max MSP for my compositions in spatial audio, and you're able to put the trajectories in graphically, and then they're translated into ambisonics and distributed to the speakers according to a map of where those speakers are. So that makes it portable from venue to venue.
Okay, thank you. Adrian, go ahead. You're next.
So first of all, I wanted to say it's great to see new people at the meeting today, as well as some of the old regulars. And as far as the courses, so I'm curious about how the students will be planning their project, what kind of planning tools you'll give them, how they'll take into consideration a potential audience for their work, to make it maybe even more relevant to having a life beyond the classroom. And I also wanted to mention there was an earlier meeting of this group where there were guest speakers, and I'm sorry I'm blanking out on their names, but they've created a canvas, an online canvas as a planning tool for sonifications. And so if either of you isn't aware of that, I'm sure Kate can connect you with the information. That might be really interesting to see what students at the undergraduate level are doing with that.
That's great to hear about Canvas. At University of Oregon, we use Canvas as our kind of our course tool. Some universities use Blackboard. I did not know about that online course, so I'm going to just ping now for love to see or learn more about that.
Yeah. So I should clarify when I say Canvas, it's not the Canvas software. It's actually what the creators, the designers of it called it a canvas. So it's actually a 4 segment grid, and it goes through a variety of questions about how you develop a sonification, and Kate or someone else on the meeting probably recalls who created that and how it was used. Yes, and Fia says it was used at the Audible Universe workshop a couple years ago. So it's just a great tool that can help students make those decisions. And as Charles was also talking about the mapping aspect of it, Sarah Lindsay, okay, Kate put that in there. So she was on a previous presentation, and it would be interesting, I think, for both of you to take a look at that and see how you might incorporate that into your work as well.
Great, Adrian. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks.
But if you are in need of something to shoot students off into to just get them grounded, Bruce's Coursera course on sonification, I've taken it a while ago. Adrian and Bruce, I know either one of you could describe that.
Yeah, I actually did take that course when I first started getting interested in sonification a few years ago, and it's either free or a low cost. It does talk you through all of the basic parameters of what is mapping all about. You don't have to be a trained musician to understand it. You don't have to be a trained scientist. It's just very basic, and you do various informal kinds of projects. So I would highly encourage people to check the Coursera course out if they just want to start to ground themselves in the basic vocabulary of sonification. I'm sure Bruce can speak more to it since he was one of the creators.
Yeah, not much more to say. It's a intro primer, get you into the terminology and technology and design thinking.
Yeah, and Bruce here also is very familiar with Sarah Lindsay's design canvas, and he's got his own. And as far as evaluation goes, if you've got questions about evaluation, I just volunteered you, Bruce. I'm sorry.
That's what we do. It's all good.
Bruce has got lots of experience in that, and that's actually one of the issues that we talk about, at the Audible Universe conference. And here is, we don't think, because a lot of us are doing these projects on the side, we don't think about building in that evaluation piece and really designing for a particular audience. So those are some of the things that at least, Charles and John, that we have encountered. Are there any other questions regarding either what they've said so far or their course structure before we move into pitching this even harder?
Yeah, I just had a question. I was wondering, about what kinds of students these courses draw in. Are you getting a lot of people who are musicians, or are they more just interested in the engineering? Is it those people that are kind of stuck in between? Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from the Coursera course, we've had closing in on 4,000 students. And so they are all over the spectrum, from people who've never heard of it to people who have, and they want to kind of, it's all over the map. But the Coursera course is intended to be broad and beginner, get you into the thinking about how to design these kinds of things. Sarah Lindsay's Sonification Design Canvas is based on the concept of the business model canvas, if you're familiar with that. And so it's really a tool that can be used as you go through the process. Yeah.
Okay, and John and Charles, you answered that question as well.
So here at the University of Oregon, we're situated in the School of Music and Dance. And,
John, you're quite quiet.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was leaning back, so I'll get closer to the mic. So at the University of Oregon, we're housed in the School of Music and Dance. And in the school, we serve degrees in music technology. It also counts as an elective for other music degrees. And then we also serve students in the data science degree with an emphasis in music technology. So we often have those kind of two types of students. We'll have music students, music practitioners, as well as students with an interest in data science and how that kind of overlaps. So I'm kind of serving those two populations in doing it. We do a lot of what I like to call data karaoke and design thinking. Data karaoke, we're taking your sounds and we're going to be singing it out just to help iterate on the types of sounds that we can kind of get with our mouths, and vocalizing that sound as we're thinking about design decisions. In the audience, we have an undergraduate research symposium that I really encourage students to be thinking about as an outcome so that they can publicly present their work. And because this course specifically is so new, I'm still working out what our final is. We have opportunities in our school to have a public concert that's more of a broader invite everyone versus just a present internally to the class for internal class feedback. So those are, I feel like I've kind of meandered around your question, but hopefully that answers a little bit. Let me know if you have additional questions.
Also answered some of the questions in the chat. So what about you, Charles? Can you tell us about your students?
Yeah, so it's generally a 22 student class, and they are about a third music majors and 2/3 engineering or computer science students, because it serves as a creative elective for their degree. And so it's always been computer scientists or engineers who have some kind of musical background and interest, and then the composers are required to do it as a part of their degree, and so they already have some technical abilities. We will have a concert at the end of the semester called New Music Blacksburg. It happens every semester at the end of the semester. The last one was in the Cube, and it was mostly fixed media spatial audio in a variety of genres, from jazz fusion to hip hop and metal. This time, we won't be in that space. We'll be in another performance space, which is going to be 7.1, because some of the concert will be screen scoring examples. So it'll be a mixture of data sonification and screen scoring in 7.1. Screen scoring is scoring short scenes from film or TV series or animation. And so my class has also been collaborating with the creative coders across the hall. The composers have been collaborating with them. Oh, but also I would be happy to have them posted online as examples. I'm reading the chat as examples of what the class came up with.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so we have a couple other things, a lot of conversation going on in the chat. We've covered some of that with presenting. Yes, Geos, if we get a partnership here, I would really appreciate if we could have a presentation of that here on the GeoSonnet. It would make good writing on my NSF final report and my quest for funding. And but also this fee, I'm looking at the maybe GeoSonic can share a short clip with the course program about the background of this community and also about accessibility. I think that yeah, I would love to be able to share with your classes about you know, what this means in terms of accessibility and some of those considerations, and having a panel on that might be helpful. But yeah, we're always hoping to look at that. So so other things. So are there any other questions for our folks here about their courses and what they're doing, so we can think about how we might be able to contribute or partner? All right, now it's time. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
I just had
Adrienne.
a quick question. So because Kate was talking about data sets, I'm wondering from the perspective of the professors, what sort of data sets would you be looking for? Are you looking for just vast ideas or something very specific and concrete?
Okay, Adrian has just asked my next question, so thanks. That's what's up next.
I don't have a preference. I really it's my class is kind of an improvisation. It has a structure of what I want to accomplish, and then we just part of being an artist is having to be flexible and deal with collaborative process, in a respectful way. So I'm more interested to see what you want to have sonified than. And I'm sorry, my new dog is squeaking away in the background. I'll mute my mic.
I was going to say, I know that's
the sonification in action.
For my class with music students, I mean, again, likewise with Charles, welcome just the ideas. Often in terms of like data, when you're sharing data, I often find that I will be doing a lot of lifting for students depending on the type of data, if it's not cleaned or the different formats. But sometimes that's the mess that we all kind of like deal with, and that's part of that experience. CSV files tend to work really nicely in being able to like the plug and play type of work, so students can kind of be doing that iterative sonic work versus in kind of like data science cleaning work. But I think from the start, just having welcoming what's of interest and what's that idea. I feel like it's like communicating what is the story or what needs to be communicated, and the types of questions around interested in communicating that data, understanding what is the phenomenon or phenomena, and what are you trying to communicate, and then going into and delving into what the data is.
Okay, excellent. I'm seeing things pop up. Molly, would you like to help move us into the discussion of possible data sets and describe what you put in the chat?
Yeah, sure. So I'm in the oceanographic world. I'm sure other environmental scientists here might know about this, but the Ocean Observatories Initiative is fairly new, but they've been collecting data for, I think, over 10 years now. But it's a collection of buoys that are all over the world's oceans. It's funded by NSF. I think it's operated now by WHOI. I think OSU also. Yeah, you probably know it, John, with OSU and University of Washington in Seattle, and it's surface buoys, deep like data from the atmospheric side data. There's seismic data from some faults out in the Oregon coast, even data down in the Southern Ocean, and there's a huge repository, and some of the data processing team has even done some sonification of CO2 and how like carbon dioxide goes from the atmosphere into the ocean and from the ocean back into the atmosphere. And they've not extensively, but there are some examples that they've done. A lot of visualizations and Jupyter notebooks, like open data processing and walking people how to access it that way. There's a lot there. So I think if any of the students are interested in environmental issues, the OOI could be an open source data sets that they could explore. Temperature, salinity, all different types of options. Yeah, I'm sure Amy has some things to say too.
And I'd also like to know, would students need like maybe a shepherd to walk them through what those are? Like, is that I can't bad? Yes. Okay. So we will, if they're interested, they'll need some partnerships. Amy, go ahead and add to that.
Sure. I've got three things I want to say. First, about the Ocean Observatories Initiative. Yes, Molly is right. That's a large publicly available portal with a lot of oceanographic data. A lot of it's kind of unfiltered in the broadest sense of the term. There's a ton of it. And I think a shepherd would be needed. One of the first proposals that I wrote in this space was to try to get a data sonification tool incorporated into the Ocean Observatories Initiative so anyone could plug into that portal and listen to data from anywhere in the oceans. That project wasn't funded. It evolved into Accessible Oceans, where instead of providing a tool to access any of the data that the portal has available, we chose some curated data sets, some mini data sets that had already been selected for educational purposes. And I think, Molly, that's the CO2 in and out that you were referring to.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, those are all those auditory display prototypes are on the Accessible Oceans webpage. Maybe, John, you can drop that in the chat if you don't mind. So it's a vast data set, and so it could get overwhelming and intimidating pretty quick without some guidance. That was my first thing. My second thing was that I'd asked for the professors to continue to push on data sonification as an accessibility tool. And John is a very close and dear colleague of mine, so he's heard this story before. But that sometimes the data sonification needs for accessibility are different than what might be the intention for a more artistic or interpretive data sonification. So there's a whole spectrum there between, sort of high fidelity, like very strict mapping of the data to sounds, and then there's more interpretive end of the spectrum, right? Speaking personally as a blind scientist, I'm on pretty hard over on what I prefer for my own work, my own research. I'm pretty hard over on the strict mapping end of the spectrum. So just maybe that's something to explore with the students. And then my third point is I actually have a data type that I could share actual data with anybody who's teaching and has students who'd love to delve into data sonification. Is this the right time to talk about it, Kate, or you want me to wait?
Yes, that would be this. Go ahead and do that. Although I want to make sure that we loop in Robert. Why don't you just hold that for a second? I'm going to come back to you and go to Robert and Danny, and then we'll go into actual data set, more data set-y things. Robert.
Howdy. Piggybacking off of what Adrian said in the chat, that NASA has a large variety of data sets that are available. CEDAWeb is one of the repositories where we've integrated the audification algorithms directly into the repository itself. So you can pick the mission, you can pick the time, and then you can go in and you can select if you want like CSV download. CDF is a bit trickier, but you can also download the audified data directly. And then even in something like Max, if you want to bring in audified data and then use that as a jumping off point to map, then for parameter mapping, there's all kind of things that you can do. But primarily what I wanted to mention is that it's really nice when domain scientists can be involved in order to provide some additional context about the data itself. And as a sonification specialist or as a student who's just kind of learning and entering into the field, it can be really helpful to have that person who is the shepherd and then also the guide who points out, like, these are some of the open questions that we have in the field. These are some of the data sets that we have and how they help to like contextualize and give us a window into these burning questions. And that can help to provide a little bit more directionality for those students as they get engaged. And then that oftentimes, like for me, I came in with a musical background, started engaging with space physicists, and then ended up getting the PhD in design science because of that interaction and engagement. And I've now gone on to work with NASA. So it can be a wonderful way for the students to gain the foothold in the field itself and then propel them on to further research.
Thanks, Robert. That is very helpful. Danny, what do you got for us?
Yes. First, I love the idea of using the Ocean Observatory website, OOI. That sounds really good. And I wanted to introduce folks very briefly to a world of data that operates in a little bit more of kind of a real-time context, where maybe you want to know the real current kind of state of the physical system, which I thought could be an interesting dimension to explore. And specifically what I'm thinking of here, I'm going to post a link to a platform called Seagull. Seagull is hosted by GLOSS, which is the Great Lakes Observing System. They're a nonprofit organization whose role is to bring together data streams from across the Great Lakes. And this includes buoy data, other data is in the mix there as well. And this is not a well thought out idea, but I kind of got inspired by thinking about what if you could have an audio representation of beach safety, like wave conditions at certain beaches, like an audio representation of that. And that could be interesting to explore. And it's not something I've talked with Gloss about, but it'd be really interesting to see if they have had conversations around accessibility and their data on this platform, for example.
That is really interesting. And also interesting, there's another GLAS out there. One day we will be Great Lakes Astrophysics and STEAM, and we can really join forces.
It's
So,
GLOS, right?
Yeah, GLOS in this case.
Oh, okay, no, okay, I heard that wrong through the
Glass.
Oh,
Glass.
yeah.
Glass.
Glass. Well, if you're listening to it on screen reader, it comes off glass. All right. So other ideas, we've gotten some good ones out here. Questions, either any other probing from John or Charles, but other ideas of data that we can use before we move on to the, like, how could we partner, or how does this look, or how do we want to proceed? Other ideas in terms of data sets.
Remote sensing data sets that I'm not sure who has used them in the past, but there's NEON, the National Ecological Observatory Network, and they have different type of remote sensing hyperspectral data throughout the US. And these are the type of things I'm hoping to explore and get insight on who has used remote sensing in this group.
And Cindy, is that something that you would be interested or willing in shepherding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, any remote sensing. I currently work with NEON data right now, and in regards to hyperspectral and looking at the, maybe sonifying different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum, I'm definitely willing to help.
Okay. I'm going to go to Amy because I cut you off before and then forgot to loop back. So tell us about your addition here.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Anna's going to throw up a plot on the shared screen if she's able. There's a certain type of data that is used in collected in ocean science, but also atmospheric science, and that is the trajectories of freely drifting buoys. And I personally, in my research, we launch. We call them floats, even though they sink. They sink down to a certain depth in the ocean, and then we track them underwater using sound for up to 2 years. And they drift around in the ocean, tracing out some pretty interesting and intricate patterns. Sometimes there's regular periodicity to them. Sometimes it looks pretty much like a random walk. Some of them are influenced by very large and strong currents like the Gulf Stream. So it's a 2D, the data itself is X, Y, and T. So it's X and Y pairs, so longitude and latitude as a function of time. That etches out a trajectory of anything. It could be a car meandering through a city. Or a weather balloon following atmospheric wind systems. And so I've been, ever since I lost my vision, I've been very interested in figuring out a clever way to sonify that kind of data that would give me an idea of what that trajectory looks like. And the data would be very accessible to students. We can easily provide a CSV file. In fact, Bruce and I have dabbled with this a little bit, and also with Brandon Biggs. I've talked to him a little bit about it, but we haven't made a lot of progress, and I think it would be a great student project, and I'm willing to help out, and with Anna's help.
Yeah.
Volunteering Anna. So Anna, do you want to describe the image that's on the screen?
Yeah, sure. So I have an example of one float trajectory. You could see if you can see my screen, you can see the black is Greenland and Canada. So it's like a map. And the green dot is where the float was launched. And it just makes this whole path under Greenland and then ends up east of Newfoundland. So yeah, we, like Amy said, we could provide and there's little dates on here too, so you can see it's a 2-year trajectory. So yeah, you can see where it was throughout time.
And we have examples from the North Atlantic, from the Gulf of Mexico, the Indian Ocean, all over. And we put these out in sometimes there'd be hundreds of them in one period of time over, say, a 3 or 4 year period. We'll have 100 of them in the North Atlantic. So you could imagine like figuring out a way to sonify multiple ones at the same time, as they're swirling around and interacting. Anyway, I think it would be a cool project. I'd love to see what students come up with. Thanks.
Oh, I think that is absolutely fantastic. I love where this meeting is going. Hannah, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so I guess I said before, I'm a marine geophysicist. I mostly work with seismic data, which is already basically sound. It's just not the kind that is generally pleasant for us to listen to without some work. I've tried it. It's not fun. But so I have a couple data sets that I would love to be able to hear rather than just see. And most of these are earthquake catalogs with some I think would be maybe better suited to an artistic interpretation or an accessibility focused view of like how do you get a sense of things like how microseismicity migrates through a system where you have like a volcanic system with a dike intrusion, you have magma coming up through the crust in very particular spatial patterns and temporal patterns. And we can map these things out visually in an interesting way, but I think it would also be amenable to sound. There's some really cool ocean examples of like specific locations where there are repeating earthquakes. Like a specific location will have a magnitude 5 every 4 years in the same place with similar characteristics. And you'll have a set of these sort of along a fault, which I think would also be interesting to move into auditory space. The one that I like desperately want someone to help me with, honestly, is looking at earthquake catalogs from Aleutian volcanoes. So this is moving out west of Alaska. And I'm really interested in how these systems sometimes get kind of unrestful. That's not really the word I'm looking for, but they experience seismic unrest. There's a bunch of earthquakes, and then the volcano doesn't erupt. Sometimes it does, but often it doesn't. And each of these volcanoes in the system behaves in kind of a different way, and you can visualize it in some ways pretty easily. You can just see like, volcano 1 time series looks different from volcano 2. But I don't know, I just have this sense that an auditory way of looking, for lack of a better word, at this data would be a really rich way to get at some of the nuances of how different systems work. And I just think it would be cool also. So there's that.
Thank you, Hannah. And it makes me think of, all the talks I've listened to that Jess does and how that about neurodivergence and the ability, giving that other sense as well as providing that for people who are vision impaired. I think as you're describing this particular thing, I think that is a very good fit. And so we have another person willing to shepherd data through. Let's let Bruce go.
This is partly a follow-on to Amy's comment. We have been working on inclusive hurricane tracking maps, and the teams that I'm working with, and Amy's a part of this, have spent most of their time working on the visual aspects of this. This semester we'll be digging into the sonification side of it because we've got all the other sort of infrastructure set up. It's based on high charts, so we're going to leverage all the sonification capabilities, but we need to do sort of the sonification design and prototyping now. So a trajectory for a hurricane or a storm has a lot in common with ocean buoys or other kinds of trajectories. So Amy will definitely be reaching out to continue that work. But if other people are interested in this general concept of a trajectory and sonifying that, I think several projects could share headspace on that. And we think broadly about trajectories. So they could be 2D trajectories like ocean buoys or storm paths. But we're also sonifying Harry Potter wizard spells, where the trajectory of your wand is sonified. So I'll just leave it at that. If people are interested, reach out to me, and I'm sure Amy and others will be involved.
Excellent. Jess, did you want to add something?
Hi. No, I was just going to say to Hannah that I'm happy to switch support for one another, because I just wrote a paper about tectonic plates on other planets, and I need like someone who actually knows something about tectonic plates to read it, because I'm an astronomer, not a tectonic plate person.
Thank you. So, oh my gosh, GeoSonnet's doing its job. Christina.
Hey, yeah. So referencing the buoy or sonifying a trace of something idea, I made a note about use of open space in the announcements. For those who are familiar with open space, the big news is that MIDI support works now, and this is very exciting. For those who are not familiar with open space, check out openspaceproject.org. There's also some demos there that Robert and I have shown before, where we did some spatial sonification demos. But I did have a poster, which I'll drop into the chat here, for using open space to create assets for research vessels. And so one of the things that I'm interested in doing is taking that type of asset where there is a thing that is moving about on the Earth and it has, a point in space and time, and using the same things that Elias Elmqvist and other people in this group have reported at ICAD with open space before, to pin a sound source to that. And then you move around within the space, and as you move, the relative location of the sound moves. And so I've been working on that in the background as a side project, and that's been kind of a long-term goal. So I'm still quite far from being able to actually implement that, but if people are interested, I'll be working on it. So I just wanted to throw that into the discussion, because I think that's a big, it sounds like there's a lot of people who have possible applications, and so that's one approach that could potentially be taken. Thanks.
Thank you. Wow. This is absolutely fantastic. We are coming up on our last 10 minutes, and I know we could keep going with this. I'll be happy to stay on for a while yet, but I do want to make sure that we address what do we do next? How, John and Charles, how would you like to be contacted? There's a lot of things that I can do, especially if Micah helps me, as far as going through this meeting and then making those, helping connect. What do you need? What do you need next, and how would you like this to go? What do you see?
I just posted my email in the chat, and I've been putting all these web pages links on a list here. I need to go through and digest all this information. I'd like to find that Coursera course and the Canvas resource. Amy, Hannah, and Bruce, do you have websites related to what you just talked about?
Yeah, and I can get those requests for you. I can get the Coursera course and the Design Canvas. We have a video, a recording from the Sonification World Chat where Sarah did hers, and I think we've got stuff from Audible Universe. Bruce, and I can also help connect you via email if you want. I can go through, just make your shout out, either put, you're welcome people to share within the chat, but I'll also go through and comb this recording for requests and make sure I make those connections.
Great, thank you all.
And Kate, to answer the question about the survey, each survey should be unique. So it should have gone to the email list. If you did not get it, look and see. It may, because of the survey process, it may have gotten flagged or spammed. And in the chat, I've included Dr. Everett's email and my own. If we can help facilitate that in some way, shape, or form, please let us know. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Matt. And yeah, if you search your Sonification World Chat emails, it should have come through on there.
Yeah, and this was mentioned in the chat a couple times about different ways that your students could use this as a sort of capstone event or sharing it out. And hopefully at least a few of each of your students will come and present to SonNet or the Sonification World Chat, because it would be great for all of us to see how it turns out.
Okay.
I also posted my email on the chat. I'm still, because I'm teaching this course, it starts in April 1st. I'm in the process of like completing my learning objectives and then the course framework. So that's like, it's a very raw, like early stages kind of thing. While there is an initial data sonification course that I developed that's offered in the fall every year, this one's pretty fresh. So I've got my list of all of these links that I want to go through, and what I wanted to ask is it okay if either I reach out to Kate or reach out to you directly of interest about whether you're, can I pair a student or students talking about shepherding during that time period, checking like potentially your availability as I like work through and developing this framework. I just wanted to at least ask that out if I'm able to reach out to you and with those asks.
I see a lot of nodding going on, and yes, I think thumbs up. We also would like, if you do send things out on your own, do copy me, because I have gotten quite a collection in my mind, and I know who to ask about particular things. So, or I might be able to add something to the conversation or a resource. So don't, go ahead and fill my email box accordingly. And Fia, you have your hands up.
Yeah, I just quickly wanted to add that one of the things that kept coming back during the Audible Universe workshops was the lack of evaluation of projects. That it's really an essential part of any project that we should have at the end. And a lot of the projects, especially done by students, they move on, they get a grade, and that's it. And then we never know whether it worked or didn't work or what was good about it. And I think that would be good to include in your course, maybe just a suggestion. The cultural aspects we've had in our Audible Universe as well. That's interesting. And if anybody wants to do anything with education, then also feel free to reach out.
Yes, thank you, Fia. And I saw some thumbs up from Bruce, and I know that the evaluation piece did come up very strongly at Audible Universe. And I'm wondering, that's one that for at least not for quite a while, we haven't done anything on evaluation of sonifications. Bruce, I'm wondering if February's or March's GeoSonnet, that would be something that we could find a resource on who does evaluation. If that would be a good topic for us.
I think it'd be a great topic. I'm sure we could put together maybe a little panel of people who have some depth in that. Probably, I'd be happy to participate if there's any value in that. Get some people with more depth in the music side of things, and sort of geoscience. So yeah, absolutely. Let's put something together. For me, probably not February. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll take, I think the idea of doing a panel and having people present, what they've done for evaluation, and that might be supportive about what John and Charles are doing, even if they don't decide to incorporate that in their courses. Maybe it's something that their students could latch onto.
Yeah.
Now, I just on that, are there things in a survey or an evaluation that you typically kind of think about or like to present to practitioners or audience members? I'm just thinking about like in a public concert setting, is something you want to like hand out a survey? Are you looking at just having something available? My mind goes immediately, do I need IRB? Do I need to set that up in advance? Like I just kind of quickly wanted just to, we got another 2 minutes here, just get a sense of what do you see for survey evaluation?
I could jump on real quickly. First of all, if you're doing an evaluation, you don't need an IRB. That one I know. And as long as you're not, collecting personal information, blah, blah, blah. But as far as, there's a lot of different things you can do. And Bruce or anybody else can jump in here in terms of is something communicating the thing that you wanted it to communicate, or if you wanted to get, if your desire for it was to get people to understand or have a feeling about something, a survey would be fine. If you want to understand the nature of I know that when we did the Astronify project, what we did, it was a time series. We actually set up a kind of a quiz where people just got coached on how to hear the sonification, and then were you able to hear how many transits were happening within the time series? So it's like, did it communicate the thing that you wanted it to? Bruce, I know you
my pithy comment is always include performance, preference, and affect. So did it do the thing that you wanted it to do? Whatever that communicative intent was, did people like it, and how did it affect them viscerally? And those, we can talk about those in more depth, what those really mean, but just
because we know, excellent, because we know that even if you are trying to do a very close mapping of the data, if it gives you a bad visceral reaction, you aren't going to listen to it very long.
Yeah, we've done multimodal displays where people were able to do driving using audio only, and performance-wise, they could actually do it, but they were white-knuckled and they were like terrified the entire time. So if we just looked at performance measures, they looked okay, but when we asked them at the end, how do you feel about this? And they're freaked out. So
that's excellent.
Thank you.
That's an excellent story.
All right, I got a jet.
Okay, I'm happy to stay on for a few more minutes if Charles or John. I would just mostly want to make sure that you get what you need, or if somebody wants to shout out and say, yes, I really want to connect with your class. I love that, John, that you have time yet. You've got till April. For those of you who are jumping off, thank you for joining us. This was fantastic. So
thank you.
Micah, if you'd stay on for just a minute, I'm going to stop our recording. If I can find